Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be trying to get some more storage in my garage. So if you guys have been following me lately, I've moved into this house about 4 or 5 months now, and I've just been trying to get settled in, and I've been just clearing stuff and moving stuff around and storing everything throughout the house. And I discovered that there was about 80 square feet of storage under my stairway right behind me. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cut a hole so I can put a door in so I can actually store stuff. What we got behind this wall is what they call dead space. It's basically space that's could be used for something, but the builders didn't finish it off or put door or access for it, make it useful. I already measured what I need, so what I'm going to end up doing is putting a 24-inch door here. In order to put a 24-inch door, you need basically a 26-inch wide rough opening. A standard door is 82.5 inches from top to bottom for the rough opening, so you can actually get the frame in. Once you frame it in, level it, then you can put the trim in it and basically have an access door. The first thing before we get started is kind of finding out where your beams are here and then determining the distance between the center beam, because what you want to do is find the center beam where your door is going to be and then cut either direction so you can get your 26-inch opening, right? And from there you got to make sure that you have enough equal space on either side to build your columns on each side. So I've already marked my vertical lines here. What I need to do now is mark my top line where I have to cut across eventually. But the first thing I'm going to do is start cutting here using just a traditional drywall knife. I find that using the hand tool to cut this creates less dust and I can clean that up easier. So now that I kind of marked some of my opening, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting. So what I want to do is start in the middle and then work my way out right now. So I'm going to go start right there. I'm going to just use my knife, cut into it, and then try to find that spot and then I just cut it straight across. Before I go too far, I want to measure and make sure I'm equal distance. The center of the beam is basically 1.5 inches on a 2x4, so you do the math on either side of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it 12.25 over to here, which is a little short of my line, and I'm going to cut down a little short of my line just to make sure I don't go too far and overshoot it. It's better to have a little bit extra that you could trim down later than cutting too much. Man, this was a huge ass mess. Dust everywhere. I had to blow it all out of here. What I'm gonna do when I continue on, I'm gonna cover up all this stuff over here so I don't get dust everywhere again. So we're in here now and the insulation is actually stapled back here. So what I'm gonna do is just cut that and then cut the insulation across for this section and then just kind of go inside and see what's in there. So I cleared the fiberglass insulation away and we're inside. We'll step inside now to see what we got in here. So we're inside here now and you can see what's under my stairwell right here. It looks like they did frame it a little bit to get filled out, but no one ever did it or paid to get it done in here. I thought there was about 80 square feet, but I miscalculated. It's more like 50 square feet worth of space. I measured it was like 7 feet across here. I think 7 feet from there to there, and then another like just 5 feet over here, so it's a little less than 45, maybe 50 square feet. But overall, I'm gonna go ahead and finish the electrical, put a lighting outlet in here, and go ahead and frame that door and put that in here and finish the inside of this. I probably want to re-insulate the interior walls in case there's infiltration from the door. Now that we have a door without insulation, really the only thing I need to do before we put up drywall in here. So the first upgrade I had to do in here before I got started with anything was running a power outlet. So I just tapped the existing power outlet there over to here. Now I've got power. I could run my light in here to do some work and do all the electrical and all that stuff inside here. So I removed all the insulation and I discovered 2 other issues. I got some cross beams I need to take out before I get up there. And then right now, my ceiling joist right here is exactly 83 inches. So it's gonna be close to that 82.5 rough opening that I need on here, but hopefully it clears once we trim all that. Also down here, we have right there that little bolt that holds that bottom header. I'm gonna have to end up chopping that header anyways, right over here to there, so I could put the new door frame in. So the new door frame will act as a new header anyways, and then I have to build the headers over top. So hopefully everything fits in there perfectly when I get in there. So I gotta remove these cross beams. In order to do that, I'm gonna have to try to bang them out and get the nails so they can come out of their heads right there, and see if I can pry it out. If not, I might have to get a hacksaw and try to cut those nails. So we got those cross beams out. So next thing I'm gonna do is finish cutting all the drywall out for the space I need. And then we get in here, cut this center beam out, and then start doing the trim studs on the either side, along with the cross stud across the top. There we have it, boys. We got it cut both sides. We have a door opening now. Everything looks good. Now I gotta frame the two sides. I need to cut this beam out. I marked where I need to be at right there. So I need to cut actually above that because I need two 2x4s to create the cross beam across the top. And then down here, I need to take out that bolt, remove that bottom, cut that. You can tell this side I'm gonna need the double side. And I forgot this side with the calculations, I needed just one. So we'll just have one 2x4 on this side, and we'll have a double on this side, along with the kingpin, which this will be acting as the kingpin on both sides. The cross support, we're gonna retain this one right here once I cut it over, and I put the two 2x4s above that. We're gonna retain that one as the middle support. All right, so now we're gonna cut the kingpin, or cut the center support all the way as far up as we can. Chainsaw. Yeah, we finally got a doorway. Got everything out. Perfect. That thing was a pain in the ass trying to get that. Basically sawed that thing by hand just to get it out. So now that we're open, I'm gonna go ahead and do the cross beam across the top. Take some measurements to make sure everything lines up and good. Oh yeah, I found my oscillating tool, and that thing made quick work of this right here. It looks kind of jagged, but that would have really helped me earlier trying to cut this thing. And then this thing fits perfectly nested into here. So now what I'm gonna tack that in with a nail. I'm gonna end up putting 2 nails on this side, 2 nails on that side, and then 2 nails up to here. It'll be good for the cross beam here, and then we'll put the side trim beam. So after cutting those 2 trim studs right here, I was able to get it in here, kind of test fit it right now. I haven't nailed anything in yet. I just put them in just to make sure that they fit and they're snug. I had to hammer them in just to get them tight. Looks like it's pretty good now. So I did some measurements. What I needed was a rough opening of about 26 inches across right here in order for the door to fit. Right now, I've got 26.5. If I put that second stud over here, I ended up with 25.5, and that's probably not wide enough for that door because that door is exactly 25.5 now. So after test fitting that a little bit, I needed the 1x4, so I went down to Lowe's and picked up a piece of 1x4. I paid a little bit more. This was like $7 versus the other cheaper version, which is like 3 something. And just because this is a little bit better condition, it's not as warped and straighter. So I'm gonna use this and try to frame it in right now. So I got this baby trimmed down to the same length as the other ones, about 82 inches. And it fits basically perfect into here. Gotta tap it in a little bit, but it's looking good. That should fit with enough gap for me to shim out. I will have to trim some of this drywall down so we can get the door frame in here without touching the drywall. So the frame fits right there with just enough gap. Same on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and nail everything together, make it all permanent, and then get the frame in here. What you guys just saw me do there was pre-drill these holes right here before I nail it in, just to make it a little bit easier. The nails I got are pretty long. They're like 2.5 inch, 3 inch nails, and they take forever to pound in, but giving it a little bit of pilot holes will get it in. It doesn't go all the way through. It's the last like inch of it I have to actually still pound. So I got that. I did the inside here for the crossbar across the header here on both sides. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap the nails into those along with the ones on the side here, just to get this all framed up and permanent before I put the door frame in. So now that I got everything framed in and looking square and straight on all sides, I'm gonna go ahead and trim the drywall that I had rough cut earlier all the way to the edge here, because once I get that door frame in here, I need that edge right here to sit flush with the drywall, so that way when we put the trim on, everything looks good. This big old mess here. This is actually a better mess than when I was using that serrated edge right here. I should have just used the blade the whole time, because the blade gets you a nice clean line. Just have to score it a couple times, and then it pretty much breaks off or cuts through that sheetrock like nothing. The next step in hanging this door is getting this frame into the opening that we've already roughed up. And to help us, I found these over at Home Depot. These are the quick door hangers. What they are, they're just basically 6 little brackets right here that you end up putting right on the hinges, on the 3 sides on the hinges, and then 3 on the strike side. And what they do is they screw into this frame, and then what it does is it just helps you line it up onto the wall and then just screw it into the beam. And that way, once you hang it up there, you can square it up. There are little adjustments on there. You can see there's little lines and notches that you can adjust horizontally back and forth to make sure that everything fits. This thing comes with all the hardware. It comes with the screws and everything to set everything. So we'll go ahead and take this apart, set all 6 of them on here, and then put them onto the wall. One of the things to prep for the wall is on the hinge side of the wall, which is the side that you're gonna try to get closest to your beam. Hopefully that's nice and plumb on your door, is to draw a straight line using like a 6 foot or a 4 foot straight edge. And I have one of those right here with the level that I bought. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put a straight line as good as I can, nice and plumb. And then from there, I'll use that to gauge where I screw it down and make my alignment marks on this side. So here's an example of one of the brackets right on the hinge. You can see that there's a big hole in the middle for the center screw. And the center screw is very important, especially if you have a solid core door like mine. What you want to do is replace that screw with like a 2.5 inch one into the beam for extra support for the door once you get it up and hanging. So you need to make sure that center one exposes that hole. The other 2 usually line up with the drywall, so you don't really have to have the extended ones for that, but the middle one you always do. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the other 5 on here, and then we'll go put it right through the hole. So we got all 6 of these babies on there, nice and tight. So now what we're gonna do is just get it into the hole and tighten it up and see how this baby looks. Also, when you put the door frame in, if you're gonna have some kind of flooring like tile or carpet, you probably wanna raise up the bottom of the door frame about a 1/4 inch or whatever the height of your tile or your flooring is. I'm gonna end up having a bare floor. I'm gonna actually recoat it, the inside of there, just like out here in my garage with rock solid polykeramine. So I'm gonna basically have it on the ground, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of air gap underneath just for expansion and whatever. Once I put the door threshold, door seal thing at the bottom, I should be fine with that gap. So you can see I mounted basically along that line I drew for the furthest way in. I have a little bit of a gap on this side. On this side, haven't tightened this side up yet. So before you tighten everything up, you wanna make sure you wanna check all your gaps, especially on the strike side, and that all your gaps are good, especially across the top and the corners and all the way down once you tighten this side down. So pretty much this door is nice and solid now with those 6 mounts that I did. I'm a belt and suspenders type of guy, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put some shims in here where there's some nice gaps. Make sure there's a nice hard tight connection, and then I'm gonna just hit this with a screw up into the beams just to make sure that I have a nice secure door frame in here. It will add a little bit of work when I have to cover up those holes, but at least I'll know I'll have this baby nice and secure. And just to make sure I fill in all the gaps, I'm gonna go ahead and put some of the low expanding foam in between these gaps just to fill them up. Since this door does lead into the garage, I want this closet to be nice and sealed. That's why I'm putting up the insulation, or I actually removed the bat insulation I took out from this side where the door was, and I ended up putting it on that wall over there. But I'm gonna buy some more, fill up all these gaps, fill up the ceiling right here where my stairwell is, fill that up, and make sure that's all nice and filled before I drywall this in. So now that I've shimmed everything and trimmed it all down to fit nicely, make sure all my gaps are good, I'm gonna end up sealing it up with this Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks. So the Gaps and Cracks is just the one that expands for less than 1 inch, which is what we need here. We don't want it expanding too much and bowing the edges of this door frame. So I just wanna put a little bit into the hole, seal it up, and make sure it just expands in there and not get all over the place. We got all the cracks filled in with the expanding foam. I'm gonna let this baby dry. I'm gonna have to cut all those little nubs off that are hanging out just because they're gonna get in the way of the drywall once we go in here. So the final thing to get this door all bolted up and everything is we're gonna have to do the trim around the edges. So this is a pretty straightforward part of it. Luckily, they make these trim pieces, which is the 7-foot version, which is basically exactly what you need here, lining up, and all you have to do is just put the 45-degree bevel up there to match the crossbar, and that should be good. Only special tool you need is the brad gun to shoot the nails in. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Once you get it in there, you get everything squared up with the top crossbar, you just gotta caulk the edges and paint it all nicely. Should have a nice clean door. One other thing I gotta address before I put the trim on is this part right here, which is the bottom baseboard. I'm gonna have to cut right down the center there just to make the room so I could get the crown trim onto there. Got the 2 sides on. So now I gotta do it across the top here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just cut one side, measure it out before I mark the second side to cut. That way I don't mess this up and I only have to cut it once and don't waste a piece. This is where measure twice, cut once comes into play. Other than that, once I tack that in, I'm gonna start filling all those holes up and get this baby ready for paint. Now that we tacked everything together, got it all in place, it's time for me to fill in all these little holes I got from shooting it with the nail gun. So I just use a little bit of putty or drywall filler, just fill all those up, let them dry, and then sand them. Same with the baseboards when I nailed those in. And then once I do that, I'm gonna finish with caulking around those corners, all these edges right here, and then caulking back here against the wall before I paint this. Now that I got everything caulked up around the edges, cleaned up, and everything looking good, I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and sand down all the putty and spackling that I put on all the nail holes. That way this thing is ready for paint. I just got done sanding everything down. Everything's nice and smooth now. I can't really tell. Well, you can see where all the nail holes are, but they're smooth. So once we put the paint on, a nice thick layer of semi-gloss, you'll be able to hide all of that. So I decided what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the door off. I'm gonna paint it over here off to the side. So that way I don't have to worry about taping up these hinges. Plus I'll get all the nooks and crannies with all the paint and everything. Now that we got everything painted up, bolted back on, everything looks really good. Almost looks like a professional carpenter did this, but did it myself. Saved me a bunch of money. Clearances are all nice, even after put all those layers of paint on here. So I think I'm good with that. And then it's the middle of summer, so this is probably the most expansion that it's gonna be. So not hitting anywhere and not at risk of hitting any of the edges there. Overall, pretty simple, straightforward door framing project. Next thing I'm about to do is finish the inside of there with all the drywall and electrical. So I was able to get a door handle from Slage, which is exactly the same ones I use around the house, this nickel type. It was hard to find at the local store. I had to order on Amazon, but it looks pretty good, works well here. I opted for the one for the lock because it was like $1.50, $2 more than the closet version just to have the lock, even though I probably won't need it for any reason unless I gotta lock myself in the garage or whatever. But thanks guys for tuning all the way to the end of this video. And I hope you guys found this video useful and learned something from it, or at least got some confidence to try this at home. This is a pretty simple, for me at least, DIY project to free up about 50 square feet of space. I know I've been slacking on my car content on this channel for the last couple months just because I moved in this house and I've got all these different house projects. I'm gonna try to knock out all these house projects, get my garage all set up, get my air conditioner put in here, get my lift put in here, and then start doing my car content. But until then, I have to do all these little DIY home project. So my next project in here is to actually run the electrical and do the drywall and insulate. So that way I have it all prepped and ready, and I can move all my junk in here and free up space out here in the garage so I can do more stuff out here, park cars, and get back to my car projects. I hope you got some confidence from this video and just doing other projects around your house or your car or whatever you do. Remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Anyways, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.